Here's my sheet. So Hitler's rise to power basically started from whenever the end of World War I, whenever the Germans lost the war. And the reason they lost, supposedly Hitler believed that he blamed it all on the Jews and felt like they stabbed him in the back, which was a myth. In 1917, the Communist Revolution led to Hitler being anti-communist. And one of Hitler's main philosophies was how he's an anti-Semitist, and he basically didn't like any Jews. So that was one of his main ideologies, in a way where he tried to run with and try to convince the rest of the Germans that basically the Jews were responsible for their loss and the reason they were down. So a reason for the Germans that were struggling, they were in a Great Depression right after the war, because at the end of the Treaty of Versailles basically put everything on them. Like they took everything away from them, they wanted Germany to repay for everything that they did during World War I, which that created everybody in Germany super poor. And then even the end of World War I sparked the Russian Revolution, which that took more away from Germany. Basically, Germany was stripped of all their money, everything that they were made for, and they were struggling. Germany even had a time where they were printing money, which they thought that would save their economy, but it ended up not, because everybody just had a crap ton of money and nothing to buy with. So the Treaty of Versailles really put a punishment onto Germany, and that was one of the main reasons that that Hitler's rise to power could have been avoided, because the main thing Hitler did was he really focused on getting Germans on his side and responding to bring Germany back to what they used to be, and like how united they were, and nationality, it was so much stronger, and he wanted to revamp that. So in one of Hitler's speeches, he talks about the German nation does not wish its interests to be determined and to be controlled by any foreign nation. And so if you're in Germany and you see that, one of your leaders is talking about basically we don't want to be controlled by anyone else, as they were for the past couple of years, it's pretty much you got to look up to him and hope that he can get the job done. The reason Hitler got into power was he pretty much tricked Hindenburg. Hindenburg basically wanted Hitler to create an authoritarian regime and appointed Hitler as his chancellor, but that ended up giving Hitler a bunch of power, because Hindenburg was old and he's almost out of it. So once Hindenburg signed off that Hitler was chancellor, it basically threw him in a huge loop, which kind of gave Hitler all the power, and Hitler kind of took advantage of it and ran with it. So Hitler, one of his main movement ideas was he wanted to expand west or expand east, because he wanted to get more housing and more stuff for the Germans, and that was one of his approaches whenever he started the war. Was he was going to go east, and start taking down that area so that he could get housing and everything for the Germans. But the main thing Hitler really took advantage of was the control of his people. And Hitler, he started the Nazism and all that. So the Nazi party rose from 2.6 to 18 in 1930, but Hitler ended up losing the election. And whenever Hitler lost the election, Hitler, he thought he was out of it, went to prison. He ended up going to prison later and wrote Mein Kampf, which was basically talking about all his ideologies, blaming Jews for the war, and apparently it wasn't that popular when it first came out, but whenever Hitler rose to power, it started got more popular, because Hitler became this idol, because he was going to restore Germany to what Germany used to be. And restoring Germany was what everybody basically wanted back in the day, because, whenever your economy is in such a low state, and you have this one guy coming in and saying, I can get everything that we once had back. Hitler, during the economic depression, started promising people jobs, and opportunities that they had not once had with the economic depression and the Treaty of Versailles. So I think the main thing with the problem with why Hitler came to power was that the Treaty of Versailles was just too harsh on Germany, like, because Germany, whenever you're at the lowest state, you're willing to do almost anything to get your power back and get back to what you once were. And I mean, everybody in the nation was poor, even though Hitler tried to trick the other countries, basically, because he used propaganda to allay suspicions of other powers. But this attempt failed. Hitler basically wanted to show that everyone that they were doing great economically. Like, he flipped the script flipped, and everything that they're doing now is completely different. But this attempt failed because it really wasn't economy, and he probably wanted, just people to realize, like, Germany's back and foreign nations would stay out of, like, their business as much. So Hitler's rise to power, basically, it really just came from, the way he stepped in while they had their depression in Germany. Germany really was struggling, like, economically, and then even their nationality was super bad because Germans were all over the place, just trying to live every day. So what Hitler promised them was just so much hope. The way he stepped in after even Hindenburg was, he ran him out of office, basically, whenever he appointed him chancellor after he lost to him. So Hitler really just kind of stepped in and took over what Germany needed at that time, so that they could get back to what they were doing, and get back to what they once were, as Hitler would promise. So again, the German nation does not wish its interests to be determined and controlled by any foreign nation, and that was one of Hitler's main ideas, just making sure everybody in Germany wasn't to be played with and controlled, and that's not who they were. So Hitler, emphasizing that idea, kind of came in, swooped everybody off their feet, and ran with it. And so that's how Hitler came to power.